Mic'd up.
Welcome, everybody, to Hall of Fame Conversations on Mic'd Up, presented by the Florida Sports Hall of Fame and brought to you by the Bradenton Area Convention Center, host of the 2025 Florida Sports Hall of Fame enshrinement coming up here on November 18th and 19th, 2025. So this is Hall of Fame Conversations, and what we do is we have casual conversations about athletic achievements and insightful stories that might define careers, or just what's going on in the world of our guests from their current or business engagements and social activities and things like that. My co-host for today is Rick Hatcher, past chair of the Florida Sports Hall of Fame, FSU baseball great, and CEO of Treasure Coast Sports. My name is John Rager, your host, PJ Golf professional, secretary of the Florida Sports Hall of Fame, and mic'd up broadcaster. And so today it's a very special treat to have on a gentleman, Major League Baseball player, coach, winner of pennants in both the National and American leagues, and the manager of the World Series champion Florida Marlins. So we're looking forward to somebody who's coming in as the class of 2025 in the Florida Sports Hall of Fame. Please welcome Jim Leyland.
Jim, congratulations, and thanks for spending some time with us. And I'll get this kicked off for us. A little baseball question here for you. When you managed the 97 Marlins, what was a key part to that team's success that you might have saw coming out of spring training or trades that were being made to eventually become, world champions with the Marlins?
Well, that winter when I took the job, Dave Dombrowski went out and signed some players like Bobby Bonilla and Alex Fernandez and Jim Eisenreich, and they added to what was a pretty good team already in place. And Moises Alou, we picked up Moises Alou, and when we went into spring training, it was really scary, to be honest with you, because we went like 26-5 in spring training. And that was our spring training record. And I was really paranoid about it because I think these people are going to think we're never going to lose a game, So it actually put a lot of pressure on us, but as it turned out, that's when it all started in spring training. We all got together. The guys became a team. I think in spring training, we got to know each other. And it was kind of like an instant story about a team coming together, although later on in the conversation, I'll add a couple other things that were very important down the stretch for us. But that's where it all started. We had a great spring, and we got off to a good start, and we just carried it basically all the way through into the World Series. But there was a couple adjustments along the way, and that's when we picked up Craig Counsell, now the manager of the Chicago Cubs,
right,
who scored the winning run, by the way. And we picked up Darren Daulton, the late Darren Daulton, who was really a force for us on the field and in the clubhouse. Tough guy. Those two guys were huge pieces that got us over the hump. So, it turned out to be great. I've always been a little bit upset about the way people treated that World Series because, we won Game 7 by the score of 3-2 in 11 innings. The home team wins 3-2 in 11 innings. And I really believe had that series been between the Yankees and the Dodgers, it would have gone down as maybe the greatest World Series of all time. But because it was between the Florida Marlins and the Cleveland Indians, it probably never quite got the credit that it deserved.
Well, that was a great series and stuff. And, again, the pulling together of the players, but with your background and your knowledge and how you motivate, you're that fiery type of manager that's not afraid to get in someone's grill or get up there to challenge somebody. Uh, how would you manage today if you had the opportunity against the personalities or the egos today?
Well, I don't think it would be a problem, to be honest with you. People are people. And, I always found out that the player was the same guy, whether he made 6,000 or 6 million. People are
Yeah.
people. And if he's a good guy, he's a good guy, no matter what he makes. And if he's a problem or a tough guy to handle, he's probably going to be that no matter what he makes. So I think it's just a matter of building relationships and trust. And I don't think that I would have any problem managing today, although it is more difficult to manage today, as you know. when all the analytics and all that stuff come in. There's more people involved now. There's more people got their finger in the pie, and it's a little more difficult for managers to manage today. But I don't think I would really have any problem. I mean, I wouldn't do it obviously again. I'm 80 years old, but I think you could make adjustments, and I think I would make those adjustments, and I think yeah, you listen to the information provided by the analytical people, and then you mix
Yeah.
that with the combination of your coaches and yourself, your knowledge, and what goes on in a dugout and things of that nature. So I don't really think it would be a problem. Good people are good people.
Hmm. Great answer.
Hey, Jim, I want to back up a little bit. Give us a synopsis of where it all began for you, how you got involved with baseball, and where you grew up, and how you got here today.
Well, I grew up in Ohio, in a small town in northwest Ohio called Perrysburg, Ohio, and like it was a very small town, so most all the kids played little league and that type of thing, and I really became attached to the game. I loved the game. Yogi Berra was my favorite player when I was a kid growing up, and lo and behold, Yogi and I ended up becoming best friends later on. Had dinner together several times, and every time we'd go to Yankee Stadium, Yogi would come in and the first game of the series, and he would sit down in my office, and he'd sit there for about a half hour, and then Yogi'd get up and he'd say, "May the best team win, kid," and he'd leave. And but anyway, so I played, in high school, obviously in American Legion, and
Yeah.
I got signed before the major league draft. They didn't have the draft when I signed. That came in 1965. I signed in 1963. So. Um, I was pretty aware of what went on. I when I got to spring training, I could see the talent around me and the caliber of the players, and I pretty much had an idea the first 3 weeks into spring training that I wasn't going to be a big league player. But I just enjoyed the game, and I kept making a minor league team, and managers would take me as the catcher or their backup catcher, and so I studied the game during those years that I was playing in the minor leagues and tried to learn as much as I could about it. And in 1971, I got an opportunity to manage in the minors for the Tigers because one of the managers got sick, and it was a serious illness, and he wasn't going to be able to do it. So they asked me if I thought I was ready to take a shot at it, and I said yes. And I guess the rest is history.
Hmm.
Well, that's quite a history, I can tell you that.
Yeah.
So Jim, going into the Florida Sports Hall of Fame. Okay, so being a resident of Florida here, what other than obviously winning the World Series with the Florida Marlins. I mean, obviously you became a Floridian at that particular point, without a doubt. But what was the attraction to come to Florida?
Well, I had known Dave Dombrowski very well at that time as the general manager of the Marlins.
Hmm.
We had worked together with the Chicago White Sox. We were both young guys at the time. Dave was in the front office, and I was a third base coach. And then I was managing the Pirates. He was the general manager at Montreal, and then he moved to Florida. And when the opportunity came up, Dave asked me if I would be interested in taking the Florida Marlin job. So I did. I got to know Mr. Huizinga, who I thought the world of, and kind of like I say, the rest is kind of history. We went there, Dave and I together, basically, and I guess he was there maybe a year or so before I came. But I later managed for him when he was with the Detroit Tigers as well. So, we've kind of been in cahoots for, I guess, several years. I managed for Dave 10 years overall. And Dave, of course, is still the general manager of the Philadelphia Phillies.
And doing a pretty good job myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Um, with you coaching the Pirates and the Rockies and the Marlins, and then you go over to the Tigers in the American League. Any significant changes of how you managed in the National League teams compared to the American League teams?
Well, that's a great question, and I hope I have an answer that makes a little sense. It's different it's different managing in the American League in the National League. In the National
Yes.
League, when I managed, obviously the pitchers were still hitting.
You're right.
You didn't have the DH, and in the American League, you had the DH. So, and here's the one thing I've always said: most people think it's more difficult to manage in the National League because you're making double switches, the pitcher hits, the strategy is a little bit different. I was a little bit different than that. I thought it was harder to manage in the American League. And the reason I say that is in the American League, you had to be precise when you took your pitcher
Yeah.
out
Right.
because you had a DH. In the National League, your decision to take the pitcher out a lot of times was already made for you because if you got behind in games, you had to pinch hit. So you had to take the pitcher out
Hmm.
because you had to try to score some runs. But in the American League, you had to be right on spot as to when you took him out. He might give up 3 runs in the first inning and then go on to pitch a great game.
Right.
Well, if you're behind 3-0 in the fifth or sixth inning, you got to pinch hit for him. So that he's out of the game. So
Hmm.
I thought from that standpoint, it was tougher to manage in the American League than the National League.
A great viewpoint. I mean, in taking a look, and now that, the strategy is now even nationally with the DHs and American League, of course, having the DHs and everything. You mentioned something about pitching, and I was a pitcher myself. And now pitching has turned into be the specialized position on the team outside of the DH. You don't have the complete games anymore. You are very few, and you got your starters go 5, maybe 6, and then you turn it over to the specialist. Um, do you think that's good for baseball?
No, I don't like it personally. I was a big starting pitching guy
Yeah.
because I think starting pitching, if you have good starting pitching, then you can use your bullpen because you want to and not because you have to. And I think that there's too much movement in the pitching department. I know they're bringing in different guys. There's a thing now they don't want to see him the third time around. But
Yeah.
I always tell everybody, can you imagine taking Sandy Koufax out after
No.
five
No.
innings or Bob Gibson? I mean, the other team would be jumping up and down if you took them out. So I think it's just a matter of using common sense. But I've always liked starting pitchers. I was fortunate enough to have Scherzer and Verlander. And of course, I had Kevin Brown in
Yeah.
Miami. So, I mean, but those guys pitched innings. Pitchers are made to pitch.
Yeah.
And the pitchers, there's a lot of pitchers that have the big contracts out there now, and I'm all for that. It's well deserved. But if if you're paying a pitcher a lot of money and with big contracts, I want him certainly to pitch more than 5 innings as a
Yeah.
starting pitcher.
Right.
So
What? And you
I'm a
mentioned Swerzer. I was going to bring that up with what he did this past week with the Blue Jays and the change coming out. And anybody who knows Swerzer or anything about pitching, he had that look in his face of "You're not coming out here to. I'm not coming out of the ball game." Did
right.
you ever have a pitcher that just I had the confidence? Okay, you're wasting a trip.
Well, I kind of learned my lesson early on. When I made my decision what I was going to do, when I came out of the dugout, I signaled for the bullpen if I was going
Early,
to take him
yeah,
out.
right, right, right.
That way, when I got out there, the pitcher couldn't talk me into leaving him in. So I always made my motion before I ever got to the mound. But it's funny. One time I was addressing the NBA coaches and some NBA general managers, and during that little talk, Larry Bird asked me, "How do you know when to take a pitcher out?" And I said, "Well, if you walk out there," and he said, "What are you doing out here?" You might want to leave him in. But if you walk out there and he's real pale and that lip's quivering, you better get him out of there in a hurry.
Great answer.
Hey, Jim, we actually have people that download the app, hundreds of thousands of people, and they can actually ask questions in advance. And they record the questions, and we play them for you to answer. And one of the questions deals with back in, I think it was 2017, you became the only manager in baseball to win the World Series and the World Baseball Classic title, which is astounding. It's really unbelievable. So I've got a question that just came in from NBA Hall of Famer Rick Barry. He's got a question for you. I'll go ahead and play it. And just keep in mind, he's not there. He's just recording it. And we'll see what happens here. Hold on.
Hey, Jim, Rick Barry here, former NBA player. Hey, I was a better baseball player when I was in high school. Anyway, I only have 30 seconds. Love to know your thoughts on coaching to the first USA gold medal when you did that back, I think, in 2017. What was that like for you? And also, of all the incredible things that you've done, what was your most disappointing experience in your
Well,
coaching career? Congratulations on the Hall of Fame as well. Have a wonderful holiday season.
Thank you very much. First of all, to manage in 2017 the World Baseball Classic was obviously one of the biggest thrills I've ever had. And it's kind of funny, Rick, because I really wasn't a big advocate of the World Baseball Classic because when I was managing,
Yeah.
you got to send your players real early in spring training out to play in that event. And they really have to amp up a lot earlier than they normally would. So you're paranoid. And I was worried about losing guys like Miguel Cabrera and Victor
Yep.
Martinez and the guys that were playing. So I wasn't a big advocate of it, but when the commissioner and Joe Torre asked me to do it, certainly I was going to do it. It turned out to be one of the greatest experiences I've ever had. We might not have had all the best players, but we had the right players, and you know all about that. What team
Yeah.
means. So we had the perfect guys, and it was great. And I think my most disappointing, obviously, was probably the '92 loss to the Braves, when a former player of mine, Sid Bream, slid across home plate to
Yeah.
beat us
Right.
in Atlanta. That was probably my most disappointing moment.
Wow. Hey, there's another question came in. I thought this was pretty interesting. I'm going to play it right now.
Hey, Jim. Quick question for you. How do you feel like leagues like the new Banana Ball League, where the Savannah Bananas play, has an impact on the future generations of baseball and how the game is played?
You know, I think it's
Hmm.
absolutely tremendous. It's funny. It came to Pittsburgh this summer when I was back there for a while, and they sold it out like
Oh yeah.
45,000 2 or 3 nights in a row. And the people, it's very much entertaining. I think it's kind of a really neat concept where people have fun and the families go and the kids love it. They all have, some kind of thing from the Savannah Bananas, and it's, I think it's very interesting, and I think it's really, really entertaining.
Hey, we'll do
I
one more.
agree.
Yeah,
Yeah.
go ahead, Rick.
In watching them, everybody says, "Oh, it's like the Harlem Globetrotters." The latter
Right.
part with them, but they put a different spin on it. But now they're expanding their leagues and adding more teams to it because of the popularity, and it appeals not just to the traditional baseball fan, but it is family entertainment. You see kids of all ages that are out there, and the fact that for me, being a former coach and a player and everything, anytime you can get kids involved in something like that, it's good for whatever the sport might be. So I agree with you. I think what Jesse Cole has done with the Bananas has been tremendous for to keeping it alive and changes it up. Baseball is a boring sport at times, and games are too long. They've made adjustments, but I think you point on with it. It's great entertainment.
That's great.
Yeah, and I want to concur with that. I can give a golf analogy to it. You've got golf influencers on YouTube out
Hmm.
there, and younger people are just very interested in that. Some of the older establishment look at that like, what is that all about? And one of these YouTube influencers, they're sponsoring a PGA Tour event and putting $5 million up for next fall, which tells me that the Savannah Banana is the same way. I mean, they've got young people, young kids, young adults. They're all interested in baseball where they probably wouldn't have been before, and now they are. Just imagine 10 years from now, what the talent and the participation in Major League Baseball could be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, I think they're like the Bananas. I think, young people, and that's what we're trying to draw to the Major League Baseball game is you have to have an influx of young people all the time come in as your fan base. And I think the Savannah Bananas, I think they are really, they're really helpful to the young kids. They really like it. And young people like action. And there's
Yeah.
a lot of action in that. And I think that's why people are so attracted to it.
Well, I guess what you're going to have to do when these minor league players coming up to the farm system, you're going to have to figure out, can they dance or not?
Yeah.
That's good. That's good.
So I'm going to
Jim,
play one more. I'm going to play one more question,
yeah,
and then we'll
good.
get those questions from our fans out of the way there. And here I've got one more. And this is an interesting question here. It's a great question from a fan. I'm going to go ahead and play it.
Hi, Jim. I'd like to know who your all-time favorite player to manage would be. Thanks.
Well, I've had so many. It's kind of hard to pick one, but I would say Bob Walk might have been my favorite pitcher that I ever managed. Just a personality and the way he was and the way he always took the ball whenever I asked him to do it. He wasn't the best pitcher I ever had, but he might have been. He was probably my favorite. And then my favorite player might have been Placido Polanco at Detroit. He was just a tremendous player. He was the same each and every day. You never knew whether he was 0 for 5 or 5 for 5. He came in the same every day, very regimented, did the same thing every day, and was the most valuable player in a division series one year for us, and uh, quite a personality. And he works for the Dodgers now, and I would expect that someday he'll be coaching and possibly even managing in the big leagues.
Wow. Wow. So talking about players, what was it like to manage Barry Bonds?
Barry Bonds, in my opinion, might have been the best player to ever play. And I'm not looking for controversy, but I think Barry Bonds, he was definitely the best player that I ever managed. Him and Miguel Cabrera. Barry was probably the best, obviously, the best player I ever managed. He was a little brash at times when he was young and everything, but this guy, we had a great relationship. Everybody talks about the one incident we had, but we're best of friends today. Like I said, he's one of the greatest, if not the greatest player of all time. And he was very easy to manage, to be honest with you.
It's great to hear. Great to hear.
So, Jim, what are you doing these days? All right, I know I've
Well,
retired from baseball, but what are you up to?
I'm not actually retired. I still work for the Detroit Tigers. When I got
Oh,
done
really? What
managing,
do you do?
When I got done managing in 13, they kept me on as a special advisor. I go to spring training over in Lakeland. I go to every game, home and road, except when they go on to the other coast. And so
Hmm.
I do that. And then during the summer, I go look at our AA and our AAA club and report to my boss in Detroit, Scott Harris, on the prospects and how they're looking. And I also am like a consultant to the commissioner of baseball. So I'm still doing a little bit of stuff for the game, and I still enjoy it. You don't work at the pace you used to when you manage, but it's still nice to have your hands in it, and I enjoy it very much.
That is absolutely fantastic. A lot of folks retire from the sport they love, and they usually have to take up another sport like golf or something to keep them busy and keep them occupied. But you actually have a great deal of influence on Major League Baseball as a retired manager and baseball player. But yet, look at that. Congratulations on that. That is very commendable. Keeps you young.
No, I don't know how much influence I have, but I am still working. So
Yeah.
thank you very much.
Well, again, with your background and knowledge and stuff, and the experience that you provide, I think there's Major League Baseball is where it is today because of individuals like yourself and being able to uh, create the different version of the games as it can be seen by the fans and everything. Um, what about your approach when you were managing? Again, I'm a pitcher, and so I'm going to ask a little bit more pitching question. What was your approach of how you would manage a bullpen, whether if it was more so in a season than when it gets into the playoffs, knowing your thoughts of okay, you want your starter to go 7, 8, 9 compared to today, but what was your approach of managing the bullpen?
Well, normally, like I said, you had five starting pitchers, and you probably had two or three, if you were lucky, that went 7, 8 innings. Rest of them maybe went six. If you were breaking in a new kid, he might go 5 innings. So, uh, if you were breaking in a kid that goes 5 innings, you would take him out and use your bullpen that day because you knew that you had a guy like Scherzer or Verlander
Right,
behind him, and you knew they were going to give you a lot of innings. And you manage your bullpen from the back down toward the front. You get your closer in place, and then the setup guy. These are things that when I manage, and you move it on back down towards the starting pitching. So um, I've always had a philosophy that you want to get yourself in a situation where you use your bullpen because you want to and not because you have to. And I think that makes a big difference in the game. If you're using your bullpen because you want to, you're probably in pretty good shape. If you're using them a lot because you have to, that means that your starters aren't doing a very good job.
great point. Great point.
Hey, Jim, I see a fun question in here. I'm going to go ahead and play it and see what you think about this one. Here we go.
Hey, Skipper. Robbie from the Highlights from Lowlife show here on Mic'd Up. You earned the nickname Hump because of your singing voice and the similarity to Engelbert Humperdinck. I'd love to know some of the songs you sang. Apparently, you have a reputation from the winter meetings of breaking out into song. I'd just like to know what some of your favorite songs to sing were. Thanks, Skipper.
Well, I didn't have that many favorite songs. I did like Engelbert Humperdinck, and I liked the song After the Lovin'. I thought it was a great song, and I was I did like to sing back then. I sang in the choir when I was a kid and that type of stuff, but I wasn't a threat to Engelbert Humperdinck, I can tell you that.
No, that's great. That's great. Hey, Jim, congratulations again, Ben, going into the Florida Sports Hall of Fame, and quite an honor for your role with the Marlins. And again, the ties back to the state of Florida with spring training, with the Tigers being here, as well as the Marlins spring training, everything. But three of your Marlins players that I'm aware of, and I think I might have missed one, are currently in our Hall of Fame. Jeff Conine, Gary Sheffield, Al Leiter, all significant players for the Marlins, had a great career. What does it feel like to be part of now their club in the Florida Sports Hall of Fame?
Well, those guys were all very good players, and those are the kind of guys you count on when you're a manager. You have the utmost respect for them. They were all three of them very professional in every sense of the word. So, it's an honor to manage a Major League Baseball player. You don't take that for granted. I mean, these guys are the best players in the world. And, there's 26 on the team now. There was 25 when I managed.
Mm-hmm.
30 teams, 750, the best players in the entire world that can do stuff that other people just can't do. They're just gifted, and certainly those guys were very gifted and great guys to go along with it. So it's a thrill to be a part of any major league player's career. At some point, you hope somewhere along the line you said something right that maybe helped him along the way, or you had some tough conversations from time to time with players, but that's all part of it when you're a manager. Somebody's in charge, and on the field, that has to be you.
Great answer. Yep.
Hey, Jim, I got a question. And it just came to mind here, and being a baseball fan and watching the evolution of technology and all the different sports out there that has evolved. I'm noticing now, and I'm not really sure what this is, but it appears that, are they experimenting with technology that will replace an umpire behind the plate?
Yeah, they're talking about calling balls and strikes automatic, and I don't think it's a bad idea at all. I kind of like the idea. I think it's going to be a little more difficult for the hitters than the pitchers when they put this in. It'll be an automated strike zone, and the umpire will still be there. They could put it in different ways where you could have so many challenges a game as to whether the
Yeah.
pitch was a ball or a strike. And if you were wrong, then you lost the challenge. So it's a little bit kind of like the regular replay that they have now, only it's balls and strikes. But I think it's good because you get bases loaded in the ninth inning and a 3-2 count, and somebody throws a ball that the umpire calls strike three, and the game's over, as opposed to walking in a run and maybe tying the game up. That's just as important as a replay at home plate or first base, in my opinion.
Right.
So I think it's going to be good. I think it's really going to be good.
You see so many, and watching particularly with the playoffs now. Playoffs have a little bit more focus with the average fans, and you see the strike zone that's thrown up there. And I think that's been a great addition for television, for baseball, to give that novice fan or the true fan, okay, how good is this umpire? That, okay, well, that pitch looked like a ball, but yet they show it on a replay or where it hits up on the screen. It's just got to get a piece of that plate for a strike zone. Hitters don't like it so much, and the pitchers, depending on who they are, think that the box is even wrong, not along with the umpires are wrong. So, but I think the steps has been good for baseball to bring it and speed it up. I agree with you.
Yeah, I think so, and I think it's I think a lot of times Some people say, well, the umpire missed that pitch, but I think, just as you said, I think what it does a lot of times is tells you how unbelievably good those umpires really are. When these
Yes.
guys are throwing a ball 98, 100 miles an hour from 60 feet, and it's a quarter of an inch outside or inside, and most of the time they get them right. That's pretty impressive.
Hmm.
We've had a variety of Hall of Famers like yourself on Hall of Fame conversations. One of them was Wade Boggs, and and Wade was talking about something that brought to my mind also about the fact that kids today, there's so much intensity on like playing travel baseball and year-round baseball for the kids, and they're not playing any other sports. And he sees that maybe as a red flag down the road that we're overdoing it at a young age with the young athletes. Of course, you want them to participate in baseball, and as they get a little bit older, sure, they make it a full-time deal. But some of the kids are getting burned out at age 10. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I kind of agree with Wade Boggs, and I was probably dumb enough. I did that with my son, and I think it didn't really burn him out. He ended up playing pro ball. He's now a manager in the White Sox organization. But I agree with Wade Boggs. I think the travel stuff is overrated. I think some of those kids would have done just as good had they just played in their normal little league thing. And if players are good enough, scouts find you. I don't think you necessarily have to play all that travel baseball, play that many games to be noticed by professional scouts. I think we do. I liked it when I know when I grew up, which was many years ago, you went from one sport to the other. You went from
Yeah.
football
Right.
to basketball to baseball. And nowadays, the coaches and everything want you to specialize. Where if you play football, they want you lifting weights all off season. They don't necessarily want you playing another sport. And I don't think that's good. I like the versatility of playing all the sports, and then at some point later on, you find out which one is.
Yep.
All right. Well, yeah, are we frozen up out there? I'm not sure. Wave your hand if you can hear me. I'll wave mine. Okay,
Okay.
there's Rick. Jim, can you hear us?
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay, we're
Okay.
back.
Very good.
We've had all these internet challenges the last couple of days across the country. I guess, we're being hacked into here by the foreign agents. They don't like baseball, I guess. It's because it is the American pastime. Hey,
I,
so with that, here's what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and close this out. So, first of all, Jim, I'd like to thank you for being on Hall of Fame Conversations. Rick, why don't you make sure you welcome him in properly to the Florida Sports Hall of Fame class of 2025?
Well, again, congratulations, and to being part of the staff, and it's really a staff when you put together this many different sports that come in there. But again, on behalf of the board of directors and the uh, numerous sponsors that help make this Hall of Fame a success, congratulations. We look forward to seeing you in Bradenton, and I'll have to get you over in the corner and share some more baseball stories with you.
well, that's great. And thank you guys so much. I'm looking forward to it. It's quite an honor, and I'm looking forward to seeing you guys in Bradenton.
Fantastic. So with that, you've been listening to Hall of Fame Conversations on Mic'd Up, presented by the Florida Sports Hall of Fame, brought to you by the Bradenton Area Convention Center, host of the 2025 Florida Sports Hall of Fame enshrinement, coming up on November 18th and 19th. Hey, go to our website, flasports.org. Actually, it's flasportshof.org, flasportshof.org. Hey, you can still get tickets and tables, and come honor Jim Leland and all of our 2025 enshrinees. Thanks again for listening to Hall of Fame Conversations for Rick Hatcher, past chair of the Florida Sports Hall of Fame, FSU baseball great, CEO of Treasure Coast Sports, and on my behalf, John Rager, PJ Golf professional and Mic'd Up broadcaster. Have a good day, and we'll see you at the enshrinement.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Jim. Great job. Thanks,
Thank
Sean.
you.